All right, so good morning, everyone. This is Jen from the Saratoga Library. Welcome to our next installment of Country Winemaking with Reed Antis from Saratoga Zymurgist. So if you have any questions during the program, please feel free to use the chat option, and we'll take those at the end of the program after Reed's done showing us how to make blueberry wine. And without further ado, I'm just going to let Reed take it away. Thanks, Reed.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Reed Antis. I co-own the Saratoga Zymurgist, which is a home brewing and winemaking supply store. We're going to learn how to make wine. So the first thing we want to talk about with making wine or with wine is sanitation. So what you see in front of me, everything is cleaned. In the sink that you can't see there, I have more cleaning solution, and I might be doing more cleaning. So we're going to kind of be more practical, showing what real winemakers do. One. Two, we're going to teach you proper procedures, and proper techniques. We want to use these two pails here, because last week we made strawberry wine. And now we want to transfer them into our glass containers and reuse these pails for our blueberry wine. So not to follow the exact procedure, but now this is what we call our primary fermentation. We're going to siphon this into our glass jugs. We're going to test the gravity of our wine to see how well we do it and see how it looks. So what I've done here today, when we got done last week, we marked the two different types of strawberry wines we're making, because we want to use these pails again for our blueberry wine. And to see what the primary and secondary, you would have to wait next week. So we're going to kind of cheat and come over here. I'm going to adjust the scale. Hopefully everybody can, yep, beautiful. So I clean and sanitize this 1 gallon jug. I've labeled it. For sanitation possible, I cleaned this stainless steel pot over here. So now I know that I have a sanitary location here. And I'm going to use my pail lid and okay. Let's pretend this is our blueberries a week from now, but we're going to reuse it. Here's what we've done. Here's our strawberries. We're letting it drain out here. And I'm just going to gently squeeze to get all our juice. And paper towels are wonderful to keep your area clean. And one thing that we've done with our pails is measure, because we want 1 gallon of wine. So with this auto siphon, we are going to start our siphon. We're not worried about clarity right now. And then we're going to take our hydrometer, which is in our test jar, to see what our gravity is at this point. It should be done. And just very simply pinch this off. And pretty much done fermenting here. And that's pretty much how we do our siphoning. We're going to do both pails because I want to clean these pails. And it's, so this is siphoning. One thing has to be higher than the other. The auto siphon starter siphon, so we don't have to suck on the tubing to create that. And now we're going to fill this right up to about here. And notice I have a pail here to keep things kind of sanitary. And this was done with real strawberries. Freshly picked strawberries that were frozen. I'm going to help the siphoning so all the liquid goes toward the end of the tip. I'll show you a few things. Getting closer. Okay. We got a little bit of liquid, and you can see where the yeast is. Here we go. You can see the yeast is on the bottom. There's some liquid left over. And so you can see we're going to measure the gravity shortly. Do that after we keep focused here. So now we're going to move this to our second pail. Now this was with our frozen strawberries. As you can see, we're draining the liquid. See it? I'm going to gently squeeze. And with these frozen strawberries, this is even more mushy and less volume left. So frozen, it does a nice job of breaking down the fibers. Since we know this is our sanitary, come over here. We'll do the auto siphon again. We get our siphon hose in there. Now notice, we're not drawing from here, but from right here. So I just start halfway into the pail. And this is how we siphon. We have another test jar here. Pinch that. Here. So this is what you'll be doing next week after the blueberries were done fermenting. Since we don't have time. And what you're going to see here, there's a lot of gas in here from all the fermentation. And you can see the difference between the frozen strawberries and the real strawberries, a little bit darker. We use two different yeast strains here. And move this out of the way. Because this is how we would move from our primary to our secondary here. So roughly a week later, we're doing this. So I'm keeping my eye, I'm not going anywhere. Now what we'll do, the next step here is we'll do some clarification. I'll show you how to do that. And then we'll start making blueberry wine. It's just practical us to do it this way first. I gently tilt the pail to get all the liquid. So I have some excess liquid, but I know I got a full. Whoa! Okay. So that's not very clear. And we'd like to have clear wine. So I'm going to show you right now. Oops, let's get back up to normal. So as we can see, both these wines do not have very good clarity. So what can we do to have clear wines and let our wines age? So what we use in the wine, which I like to use in wine, is bentonite. Bentonite is a clay. So we're going to use this as positive ions reacting to negative and having things drop as suspension. So I have these two little glass jars here. One, with my little hot water teapot, I'm going to measure a quarter teaspoon. Hot there, and where's the other? All right, so that's about a quarter to a half a cup. We're going to take a teaspoon of our bentonite. And just sprinkle it gently into the hot water. And I'm talking about maybe 140, 150 degrees. And gently sprinkle it on here. The hotter the better for this. The instructions say warm, but I've learned through practical experience that hotter water with bentonite works better. I have my mini whisk here that I haven't cleaned, so I'll put it in my cleaning solution. I know it's sterile. And I'm going to hydrate my, you can see it's getting a little, there we go, a little mushy, which is good. Do the other one. I have a funnel here. I've sanitized. Put our glue in here. And so what the clay is going to draw all the stuff that's in the solids. It doesn't make the wine look clear. So I've got my stirrer here. It hasn't been cleaned yet, so I'm going to put it in my cleanser. Take this off for a second. Move this to here. And now we're going to just give it a real good stir. And what this is going to do is grab all the solids, and they're gently all going to settle to the bottom of the glass jug. And then here, I'm going to put more in here on this one. Move our Stir to here. And just give it a real good stir. Maybe do this one again. These over here. We'll discuss this a little bit. Okay. So we have a stopper here in our airlock, and we've got it about that full. We're going to identify here so we don't remember. Put that one like that. You can see all the bubbles. That's gas from the fermentation. You can see gas leaving. You can tell the airlock is letting the gas escape. So it's not as tight. So the trick is you take the paper towel and you dry the glass, dry the stopper. And this is not an uncommon problem for holding it here. Now you see how nice and tight it is. The gas that's escaping from the wine from the original fermentation is pushing this up. So we're going to have to play with that a little bit later. And I'm going to move these jugs to the side so we can start dealing with blueberry wine. So just to review what we've done, we've moved our primary wine, which was strawberry, to our secondary for clearing and aging. And we added a simple clarifier, bentonite, in it so we get good clarity. In 30 to 60 days, both those wines will be very nice and clear. I'll have them here at the store. You're welcome to come visit. Okay. So I'm using this as my sanitary location. Here's recommend a scale for weigh things. He's out of the way. Whoops. So, what's the next step? We want to reuse these pails. And guess what? They're dirty. So we're going to move this to our sink. So it's really not that dirty, but we want to work with clean. Put our solution. I recommend a clean washcloth. This will not scratch plastic. Our pail's nice and clean. We'll let that dry for a second. We'll get our lid. Clean our airlock. In the interest of time, we'll do our second pail because we'll be using that shortly. Since everything is fairly fresh, cleaning this will be very easy. I'm going to dump the liquid. I swirl everything. And usually the washcloth does a real nice, easy job. Use this washcloth to dry my hands. We're going to use some paper towels. I find paper towels very sanitary. And we'll just clean or get our pails somewhat dry. So this product it's called Easy Clean. This is a no rinse product. So got one pail here. Dropped on the floor. We'll give it just a quick clean. We've got our 2 pails for blueberry wine. Got our 2 lids. And we've got 2 bags here. I thought of cleaning the bags, but it'd take too long. I would clean those bags if I was at home. Where's the opening? Here's the opening. So we got our 2 pails here. So we're prepping our pails for our primary fermentation, and we have 2 different styles of two different ways we're going to make blueberry wine today. I'm going to clean this real quick. I'm going to want to use that shortly. Okay. So right here you can probably see the nice blueberries that I picked on Sunday. This is about, I think, of roughly 4 pounds. All total. I didn't like what I just did. Oh. And I got more here. All these freshly picked. So there's our blueberries. As you can see, there we go. What are we going to do next? We're going to, with this masher here, we're going to crush all our berries. And this is a lot harder than I expected. Can't remember the last time I made blueberry wine. But we want to break all the fibers. Like with grape wine, we want to crush all so we can get all the sugars and the flavor and the color out of the skins. After I smash all these, I'll show you what they look like. So the first step is to crush our berries here. You could use your hands if you like. I'm going to use this masher because it's a little bit clearer on my hands. but you're more than welcome. And the idea with the bag is we control our mess, so when we lift it up like with the strawberries, we don't have to worry about big solids being in our wine when we get done. So we're going to make a gallon. My goal is to make a gallon of wine. But as you are seeing, I start with 1.5 gallons of product in the pail and expect loss. So I have a full gallon of wine in my 1 gallon jugs. So I have, which is equivalent to 5 wine bottles. And I figure that's pretty good. And basically, I've been asked about cost. I try with 5 wine bottles. If I spend about $5 to $6 per bottle, I think I'm doing a fair amount. And the more I crush this, the easier it is. You can see it getting all nice and mushy here. I will show you in a second. Put this in this one here. So now we've got our about 4 pounds of blueberries, excuse me. So what else do we need? When we make wine, when we think about wine, I'm thinking about alcoholic strength. And the alcohol strength I'm thinking wine is I want between 10 and 12% alcohol by volume. I know that there's not enough sugar in these blueberries to get it to a wine strength. Really, the only fruit that's good enough for wine strength is grapes that are grown for wine making. So we have our clean pail here. You can use a regular pot. This is about a quart of hot water. I'm going to put this in here. With my stir, I'm going to add, I've weighed out 2 pounds of sugar that I want to dissolve in the water. And what kind of sugar am I'm using cane sugar, but I'm just not using normal cane sugar or what we would, regular table sugar, which is very refined. I like to use evaporated cane sugar. It's less refined, has a little bit more depth. And I'm going to keep stirring for a few moments until the sugar gets dissolved in. It takes a few moments. But with hot water, sugar is easily dissolved. You can see here on our pail here, I've got 4, 5, and 6 quarts. I want the volume in this to be 6 quarts or 1.5 gallons. Get our sugar here dissolved in. I don't want to use too much hot water because I don't want to have this too warm, so it'll be too hot for my yeast to ferment. Takes a little bit of time, but all the sugar, you'll see it dissolved in. Okay, so we've got that. Stir that in. Let's see what we got from. We're about at 4 quarts here. Okay. Since this is all sanitary, we're okay with that right now. I got this at BJ's, or you can get organic corn cane sugar at the grocery store. I find this very nice to use. So what's left to do? Well, we don't have a full volume of volume of 1.5 gallons. So we need to add more water. Oops. All right. I'm going to add some more water to the just over 5 quarts. I'm going to need some more water. Sorry about that. This is water from my home. It's non-chlorinated. It is well water, and I do not recommend it chlorinated water. So I'm just going to add enough. You can really be surprised how you can see the black line on this side here. And what did I do? Got my stirrer here. Get this all mixed up. As you can see, things are, so I'm just going to do a loose knot. Check my volume is at 6 quarts. So in winemaking, this is called must. And what we'd like to do now is my funnel here. I'm going to clean that real quick. And like before, let you know this is a no-rinse product. And what we want to do is measure the gravity of the wine so we know what our sugar content is, our potential alcohol by volume, and see how well we did with today's recipe. And I need, this is something that's clean. Here's what the blueberry juice looks like. So now we're going to read the gravity. We'll come over. Here, turn our hammer. Hopefully you can see this. And we'll measure. And specific gravity is going to be hopefully we can see this, and right where my finger is the number 70. And so our specific gravity is 1070. Go over here, and this is roughly a 10%. This will be a 10% wine. We'll leave that back in here. See how the things settle. Maybe we'll get a better reading in a little bit. So we know specific gravity. Now for our wine must here, is it ready to add the yeast? The answer is no. We want to add things to this to help this be a more fulfilled wine with more depth. I'm looking for my measuring spoons. Where'd they go? Hey, who took them? All right, they walked. See how it pays to be organized? And I have not. Over here. Pretty sure. Well, here. This hit the floor. We're going to clean it. We're going to dry it. So what we're going to do today is add a teaspoon of several things. I'm going to get on my glasses so I can see. The first product we have here is yeast nutrient. Yeast nutrient is good to help the yeast grow and ferment and make our little sugar. So this is our teaspoon. Got a teaspoon here. I'm just going to sprinkle this on right now so it starts to hydrate. That's to help the yeast do well. The next thing we're going to do is add a teaspoon of tannin. And this has helped the wine give some body and some depth. So this is from grapes. You can see it's brown. That's wine tannin. Next, to give it some more depth, is acid blend. This has got citric acid, malic acid, and tartaric acid. The important stuff is the malic and the tartaric more so than the citric. And once again, this is to help give the wine some depth and help the acidity of the wine, because wine is somewhat a little acidic, is acidic. And helps lower the pH of our must so the yeast can do well. And the last thing that's most important is pectic enzyme. Pectic enzyme is an enzyme that breaks down pectin. We have pectin in our fruits. We want the pectin to be broken down so we have a clear wine at the end of the process. And also, what does the work is the yeast, because the enzyme breaks the chain of pectic enzyme, which is a polysaccharide, into lower, smaller pieces. And we have our stirrer here. We want to stir things up, get everything. Everything nice, well, and mixed. So the last thing we're going to do is add our yeast. And what we have here is a wine yeast from Lavlin. And we're just going to sprinkle it on top. And it's BM 4x4 is kind of something I like to use with this kind of berries here. So I just tear open the package. And I'm just going to gently sprinkle it on the surface. So this dried yeast needs water and moisture, so it's real critical right now that we do not disturb the yeast. I'm trying to find. So it's just laying on the surface so it can naturally, slowly pull the moisture in so the cells can come back alive. Here's our lid. I'm going to add this because this is. Okay. So we take our lid and just slowly so the next step Got our airlock here. We just need a little bit of water. See that? Like that. Now that nice and snug. And that batch is done. So basically, we picked berries. We added additional sugar to get it up to wine strength. We added a bunch of other items to help it make it a more in-depth wine. We added wine yeast. We did our gravity. That's all set. Now I want to show you a different way of thinking, and a little bit more fun, because if you want to make wine year-round, there's other ways of doing it. We can think outside the box. Here's our... We can get frozen blueberries at the grocery store. And these are... None of us have to get organic. A little stem here. And now these are a little bit easier to work with because they've been frozen. And that does break down the fiber of the blueberry cells and structure of the skins, which is nicer. So it's going to be easier to crush these berries. And each bag was 2 pounds, so we both have about 4 pounds of berries in here. I'm going to take our masher here, start mashing our berries. I call this 21st century because we're going to do a couple other interesting things. I want to heat up some water. I'll show you what we'll do with that in a second or two. I need to put more water in my teapot. That's heating up, and then we're going to go smash our blueberries. Takes a few minutes to get them all. I want to try to get all the cells, the berries crushed so that the juices are out and the skins are broken. And it's more fun with your bare hands, but today I'm going to be a little bit neater. The more you smash, the more juice you get. This is the important part of getting it. You want good extraction from the berries. Pretty much done with that. All right, to do something different, and we're going to add a little bit of, I measured this cup. This is a cup of sugar from the cane sugar, and I weighed it out early before you came on. So this is about a half a pound of sugar. You don't want to use a scale. I think refined might be a little bit heavier, but roughly a cup is roughly 8 ounces of weight. I'm going to sprinkle this in. And I want to add a pound. When I made my strawberry wine last week, I didn't add any additional sugar. And it was a little bit lighter than I wanted. alcohol-wise. So here's the trick. Welch's grape juice has natural acids and natural tannins, and it is grape juice, and it has sugars. So we're going to, because we want a dark wine, I'm going to add all of this grape juice into this 96 ounce jar, which is 2.5 quarts, I believe, or 3 quarts. And let's go see where we are. As you can see, we're on just over 5 quarts. And the interest not to waste, I had some white grape juice from last week. I'm going to add that. Pretty close, just a hair more. This is just a different way of thinking. I've got my stir here. Notice I didn't melt the dissolve the sugar in. Sugar really will dissolve fairly easy. It'll hydrate very quickly. And we're standing the. We're going to now, and this is the key, once again, remind to keep our blueberries in check and make our life a lot easier when we transfer to our secondary in about a week. So what's left to go in here? Since we're using grape juice, we won't use any acid blend. And we won't use any tannin, because the grape juice has that for us. What we will use, once again, is yeast nutrient. Oops, before we do that, what do we want to do? We want to do a gravity reading. We have a hydrometer right here. You can see it's about at the correct mark. We have our funnel. We'll take our, measure our gravity. And this is little, my bubbles off a little bit. This is a little bit higher, but about this, just a little bit over, almost the same gravity. This is maybe a few points heavier, so this is about maybe 10.5. Dark grape juice looks like it's gonna be nice and dark. My hands are all sticky. Guess that's a good sign. We got sugar for our yeast. And once again, we're going to try a different yeast strain here. Whoops, excuse me. Pardon me. Having so much fun, forgot about you folks. So just for, we're going to try Red Star's Premier Classique. And if you're an old school, this is the old Montrachet. So, 4 pounds of frozen berries. We added Concord grape juice and white grape juice, up to 6 quarts of liquid. Added some yeast nutrient. Added some, no, we haven't, almost forgot. And now we get, I did our gravity. And now I have my other measuring spoons. I'm going to do a teaspoon of each. And I'm just going to sprinkle it on. Now the pectic enzyme again. Anytime you work with fruit, I always recommend pectic enzyme. It has to work in conjunction with the yeast. If you're done fermenting and you want to get rid of the haze, pectic enzyme is not the trick. We have our stir, which we've kept in a sanitary situation. Everything's well mixed. Now we'll get ready to take our Red Star, if she wants to open up for us. All right, excuse me while I get a scissors. Look at that, I've got a pair of scissors right here. Okay. Once again, all we really want to do is sprinkle nice and gently. Get over the surface area so the yeast can hydrate and get back. So the key with this is gentle. Right now, this yeast is very vulnerable because it's getting reconstituted, as you could say. So we've got 2 men. We're lacking airlock, but I'll worry about that a little bit later. Here is a finished wine bottle of some pineapple wine that I made. That's one way of looking at it. And then this is the fancier way. There we go. No need to see my head. So this is a capsule. This is a homemade label. And how did I glue the label? I used non-flavored gelatin and hot water. And you can have fun making any kind of label. So this is simple, like that. I'm pretty much done with the class that I can think of. It's probably thousands of questions people want to ask, Jennifer. So let's go for it.
All right, so I don't see anything in chat. If anyone has any questions, feel free to put those in chat, or you can unmute yourself
so I can
and
hear the question.
ask out loud. And Reed is ready to take your questions. There are no questions so far, Reed. You must have done a really thorough job.
Starting out, transferring the strawberry into the is actually you would be doing next week, but that's why that started out the class. I hope that didn't screw people up, but just a practicality, cleanliness. That's the basic thing. So couple of rules. We assume nothing. That's why I make sure I clean everything. And more sugar is not necessarily better, but you want roughly a 10 to 12% wine. And maybe in another class, come back. I do suggest that wines are back sweet, and that's a whole other procedure at another time.
So Reed, we do have one question that just came up about the sugar.
Okay.
And the question is, you mentioned evaporated cane sugar and then said organic cane sugar. Are they the same product?
Yes. That brand is organic, but you don't necessarily have to buy organic. It's just what was available to me at that day. You can get either or. The idea is using evaporated cane sugar, I guess, but basically it hasn't been as refined, so it has a little bit more depth as a sugar than just basically the real small white table sugar. But that is also acceptable. When we make wines, if we want to make meads, we're using honey. So that'd be a whole other class right there. And instead of working with table sugars, we will be using honey at that point.
Okay, great. And we have another question that said, do you have a website or store you sell your wine at?
I'm sorry, say that again, please.
The question was, do you have a website or store where you sell your wine?
No, I'm an amateur winemaker. I'm showing you as an amateur winemaker. I do not sell my wine. This is all for your home use. This is the whole idea. So I guess you make your own wine. Don't have to pay any taxes on it, any tax revenue on it. It's the fun of you making your own alcohol at home.
And Reed does have a store where he's working out of right now. Reed, do you want to tell them about your store?
Sure. I have all the supplies that you saw me work with. I try to keep it as simple as possible, and so that you could see what equipment, the simple equipment you need, how easy it is to work with. I'm spending an hour and a half, 2 hours picking blueberries, probably the toughest part of the day. Last week I got started. It took me an hour to pick strawberry. Usually 3 to 4 pounds per gallon of liquid wine is what you want to pick. Berries do not have enough sugar, so that's why we add additional sugar. What berries you pick do have an influence on the end product. What yeast strain you choose has an interest on the end of the product. You're welcome to visit the store. I have all the supplies. I try to not be organized as best I could. If you come on in during the week when I'm in the store, you can see what the strawberry wine looks like as it starts to clear, and the blueberry wine as it's fermenting. You're welcome to visit. Introduce yourself to me. The fun thing about this, I'll kind of is sharing the products. So if I know you and we get contact information, guess what? I have 5 bottles. I'm not going to drink all of them. So hopefully you introduce yourself to me, and eventually I'll save a bottle for you several months down the road. Time frame. You spend about an hour putting 2 batches together. It's going to take roughly 7 to 10 days to ferment. We rack into the glass jug. I would say 30 to 60 days. Once it clears, I would recommend usually bottling it. At that bottling point, you wanted to sweeten it, which I kind of recommend most people would like to do. You sweeten it, let it age. At about 6 months, but actually close to a year, is really wine takes a year. You understand that mindset, put everything together. It's going to be better after a year. It's going to be drinkable at 6, 8 months, but it'll be better at a year. Hopefully that answers all the questions. And we had no real hiccups. And I'm glad there was very few questions. So I must have covered a lot of bases and answered a lot of questions.
Yeah.
So are we about done, you think, Jennifer?
We are, and I just want to say a big thank you to Reed. This has been really informative and entertaining, and I hope people are inspired to try their own brews.
Yes.
All right, and we have some more in this series coming up, so if you enjoyed today, we have a few more country winemaking programs coming up, and we also have a beer brewing basics coming up.
Yes.
So check out our calendar for those with Reed and learn how to do your stuff from home. Do your own from home.
So goodbye.
Thank you, everyone. Bye-bye.